What is going on, Headline Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Today we're talking about who are the safest quarterbacks here for 2022 fantasy football. And there's a lot of high-profile names at the top of this position, and a lot of people want to reach early in drafts to get some of these guys. Me, personally, I'm not one of them. I love to try to find that value right around round 7 to 9 or so. It seems like every single year there's a guy in that neighborhood that pops off and finishes top 5, and I didn't have to invest a super high draft pick in order to get him. So that's what I'm looking for here today. Now, before I get into the content, I have some draft guides that I really need to give away because you guys are crushing like goals. So the two videos in which I'm announcing the winners of these free draft guides are right here. The league-winning running backs and the safest wide receiver videos. Sean, Moji, and Braden Thurgood, which is an amazing name, by the way, Braden, all going to be winning a 2022 fantasy football draft guide. Already messaged them to get their information back and hook them up. But I got to set a like goal in this video, right? We got to set another like goal because, I mean, you guys are just, you're checking them off the list in like 24 hours. So being that this is a quarterback video, keywords aren't going to hit as high because it's quarterbacks and a lot of people don't care. I don't really understand why, but for that reason only, let's just set it at 1,111. Let's go quad 1 and see if we can get 1111 on this video in the like column. So hit that like button. Here we go. These are the metrics we're going to be looking at here today for quarterbacks. And there's actually quite a bit, right? A lot to look at here for the quarterback position nowadays. Team pass attempts per game. We want to have the opportunity for them to throw a lot. Sack rate. What is their protection like behind their offensive line? Touchdown rate. How often are they throwing them TDs that we love? INT rate, interceptions. How often are they throwing interceptions? Passing yards per game, rush attempts per game, rushing yards per game. How about fantasy points per game? And then average draft position, who can we get the cheapest? So no, I didn't just take the top 12 guys. We have the top 26 quarterbacks currently in fantasy football. You can see the names here on the screen. Now, what we're going to do with all of these names is compare them head to head in the metrics from the previous slide. I'm then going to assign them a value of 1 through 26, and at the very end, I'll total it all up, and we'll see who comes out on top. Let's kick it off with team pass attempts per game, and there shouldn't be much of a surprise here. Tom Brady threw the ball, I think it was like 3 times shy of a buttload in 2021. 40.8 pass attempts per game. Love to see that from your quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen. Love to really see Josh Allen that high. That's kind of why he's like the consensus #1 quarterback, right? Is because he's got that potential for a big passing day, and he uses his legs as well. What kind of caught me off guard here a little bit was Russell Wilson finishing last, 27.6, but we know that Pete Carroll wouldn't let him cook, and that's probably why he's not in Seattle anymore. But still, a lot of guys hovering right around that 34 and over range, and that's the number that I love to see. Let's move it down to sack rate now, and no, I'm not talking about those types of sacks. Get your mind out of the gutter. Code word headliners. Manscaped.com, 20% off, free shipping. Anyway, this tells me right here that Tom Brady not only threw the ball a lot, but he was having time to do it because he had the lowest sack rate of any quarterback there just last year at only 3%. Great number. Now, when you look at this overall metric, though, a lot of these guys, I'd say anything from Carson Wentz up, not that bad, right? Then all of a sudden you get back down to Justin Fields. Dude ran for his life last year when he was playing quarterback for the Chicago Bears, and what did they do to help him out? They gave him a worse offensive line this year than he had last year, despite having a crazy high sack rate at 11.8%. Zach Wilson got a little bit of help this offseason, but not Justin Fields. Lamar Jackson would really love that number to be a little bit higher, but that's what really leads to a lot of the rushing upside from Lamar Jackson. It's the pocket breaking down and him having to scramble and make things happen. Joe Burrow's offensive line got way better. I would definitely expect this number for Joe Burrow to be much, much smaller here this season. How about we go down to TD rate because we love them TDs. And right off the bat, you see Jameis Winston is #1 in this metric. Can anybody tell me, class, pay attention. Pay attention, class. Why is Jameis Winston #1 in touchdown rate? Can anybody tell me? It's because he was throwing touchdowns, but he wasn't throwing very many pass attempts, right? We saw just a little bit earlier, his name wasn't high up there when it came to pass attempts per game. He was second from the bottom at 28.2. But how many times can you remember just last season we'd see Jameis Winston go out there, throw 3 or 4 touchdowns, but only have like 180 yards passing? That led to a lot of efficiency from Jameis Winston. Obviously, if he's the starter all year long, that number is going to come down. Aaron Rodgers as well. No Devontae Adams. That means something. Trey Lance, you can see, is right here at 7%. Didn't get much of an opportunity. Very small sample size, but I wanted to include Trey Lance because a lot of people would blow me up in the comment section if I didn't. Not a surprise that Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, all these guys towards the top, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins kind of hanging around the middle of all these metrics. He's definitely a name to pay attention to. How about we go down to INT rate now? Interception rate. We don't want interceptions in most leagues. It's negative points for most leagues. It's negative 2 points for interceptions, so you do not want to have somebody that's throwing picks left and right. Aaron Rodgers does not throw interceptions. It's just not what he does very well. Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins gets a lot of respect in this category. 1.2% interception rate. That is great for Kirk Cousins. Same for Carson Wentz at 1.5. To be up there even in the same breath as Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, huge surprise for me. Same with Jared Goff coming up there at 1.6. It's Jared Goff. Dude looks like he's munched on Crayolas at time, but he ain't throwing very many interceptions despite even playing for the Detroit Lions. Now at the bottom of the list, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence. Not a huge surprise there, right? Do I really expect to see Lamar Jackson and Matthew Stafford down here at the bottom? Even Joe Burrow. Not where I had intended, but when you have teams that throw as much as they do, not so much Lamar Jackson. I guess he's kind of the outlier. I shouldn't say that. But Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, you know they're going to have more opportunities for more interceptions because they're throwing the ball more. Lamar Jackson just needs some more help on the outside at the wide receiver position. Didn't really get it too much from Rashad Bateman last year. Had he been able to, and then paired that with Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown, his numbers probably would have been a lot better, but he's back to only having one big-time weapon on the outside of the wide receiver position this year, too. So, I mean, I don't know if that number is going to get much better for Lamar Jackson. What about passing yards per game? And here you go. You can see Jameis Winston towards the bottom, right? We just talked about it, 167.1. He wasn't, throwing a ton of yards, but he was uber efficient last year. Tom Brady, the only guy in the NFL throwing over 300 yards a game, but it was close. Justin Herbert was super, super close at 294.9, up there with Burrow, Stafford, Mahomes, Derek Carr, who just continually gets no respect from people. I mean, he had what last year? Hunter Renfrow. Darren Waller was hurt. They lost Henry Ruggs, and he still made it happen. Derek Carr is so underrated, in my opinion. All right, let's go to rush attempts per game because we love rushing upside from our quarterbacks in fantasy football. No surprise here. Probably with the top, 6 or so? Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. Kind of what you expect to see. We expect to see the likes of Jared Goff, Davis Mills, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, all at the bottom of this. We know they're not there for their athletic mobility in the pocket. But these guys at the top are kind of what we've come to be used to. Are there any names up there that caught me a little bit by surprise? Jameis Winston at 4.6, coming off a torn ACL. Don't know if we see that. Trevor Lawrence at 4.3. That is really going to help Trevor Lawrence overall in these metrics, the usage of his legs, because I don't think he gets a lot of credit for that. And he's definitely somebody who you have to account for when the pocket breaks down. It's kind of sneaky upside for Trevor Lawrence. All right, let's go down to rushing yards per game now. Lamar Jackson last year ran for 63.9 yards per game, and he's going to have to do more than that this year for the Ravens to be successful. He's going to have to put the team on his back. We talked about this earlier. With just Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, he needs more help. He's going to have to be his own help. Same for Jalen Hurts. Does this number come down a little bit because they want him to throw the ball more this year after the addition of A.J. Brown? Highly doubt it. They got to take advantage of one of his greatest assets. I can't expect Jalen Hurts is going to stop running very much. Josh Allen, it's that little cherry on top for Josh Allen, right? He's definitely somebody who can go out every single week, throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then he's also going to sprinkle in almost 45 yards rush and a potential goal line touchdown. Absolutely love that for Josh Allen. Justin Fields, he's going to have to run. He's going to be running for his life behind that offensive line. Kyler Murray, that's not going to change. Trey Lance, Jameis Winston, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, 19.6. If he can boost that up to right around 30, all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence starts to be discussed a little bit more if they can really utilize those pass-catching weapons that they added here this offseason. So let's look at fantasy points per game now. And it's once again the usual suspects here at the top, right? Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Dak. I mean, kind of the names you expect to be here, right? And you got to remember, as we're going through all these metrics, this is not a show that I'm going to sit here and tell you that Josh Allen is a good quarterback, or hey, you should probably draft this Justin Herbert guy. He's pretty good. No, we're trying to find the guys that these top tier guys. But who else is in the similar category with these guys when we compare them together that we can get at a cheaper price later on? I see Kirk Cousins' name once again popping up here in the middle of the pack, right next to Matthew Stafford. I think Kirk Cousins, another guy, severely, severely underrated. All right, ADP, we want it cheap. We don't want to pay much for it. That's the way we do things, right? We want it for the cheapest price possible. Well, Jared Goff, pretty damn cheap. Figuratively, probably not literally. Jared Goff, 186th overall. Followed by Carson Wentz, Davis Mills, a lot of the guys you would expect to be down here. Are there any surprises? Matt Ryan, I think, is kind of late at 152. Jameis could be a little bit higher, but he's coming off the injury. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's getting a lot of respect this year. I mean, now that he's got Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, Austin Hooper, Derrick Henry back and healthy, I don't mind Ryan Tannehill as much as like a middle-of-the-road type of guy. Tua at 120, Cousins at 107, Carr at 103. Crazy, crazy cheap right there for ADP. So, like I said, I went through and I ranked them 1 through 26 in each one of these metrics. If they had a tied score in a certain metric, they got the same amount of points, so I wasn't penalizing somebody else just for where they fell in a spreadsheet. So, when you do that, you total everything up, and you sort it by total points. This was the overall top 12 here. We have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz, and Jalen Hurts. Now, maybe you want to know where everybody finished. Let's just pull up the overall standings here, 1 through 26 real quick. You can see who just missed the top 12. Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence at 14, kind of crazy. Right there with Tua, Burrow, Carr, Lance, and Russell Wilson. But here's the deal, right? That was 2021. And some things have changed going into 2022. So let's pull up the top 12 overall here once again and kind of see what's changing for some of these guys. Well, we know Jameis Winston was a smaller sample size. Now he's coming off of a major injury. So I'm going to highlight him in yellow along with Carson Wentz. New situation for him, new team. Can't all of a sudden say he's going to be as safe even though he's somewhere different. Patrick Mahomes, slightly trending down. You can't lose Tyreek Hill and get better, right? Dak Prescott lost Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson. Kyler Murray's going to lose DeAndre Hopkins for 6 weeks. Kirk Cousins, I believe, is trending up. I still don't think the Vikings offense is getting enough credit for what they could be here potentially this year with the amount of firepower they have in the new offense here. You need to watch out for Minnesota when it comes to scoring fantasy points. Aaron Rodgers lost Devontae Adams. Can't get better with that. Lamar Jackson lost Hollywood Brown. And Jalen Hurts gained A.J. Brown. So let's do the same thing with the top overall 26 now because there's still a few other guys that I believe are really trending up. Look at the second column here. 14 through 26 has a lot of guys that are trending in the right direction. Tua added Tyreek Hill. Added Cedric Wilson. Improved the offensive line. Joe Burrow now has arguably one of the best offensive lines in all of football. Derek Carr got himself a healthy Darren Waller back and Devontae Adams. Russell Wilson, new situation, but in my mind, a better situation where they're going to allow him to cook, and he still has weapons with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, Albert Are You Okay, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, the list goes on. Love it for Russell Wilson. Jared Goff. Okay, trust me, I do not ever want to draft Jared Goff, but when you look at the potential for Jared Goff, his offensive line is improving. They've brought in DJ Chark this offseason. At some point, do we see Jameson Williams, their first-round pick? Does he come back and get healthy? We know about Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift. All of a sudden, there's some pieces here that are going to trend Jared Goff in the right direction, where if you're in a 2 QB league, or maybe it's a bye week fill-in, Jared Goff, depending on situations, may not be all that bad. Matt Ryan in a new situation, now in Indianapolis, and then Zach Wilson. He's got to be trending up after the recent news, right? I mean, the Cougar Slayer out there has to be going up. He's gaining some confidence, I guess we could say. So definitely moving up. Plus, they drafted Garrett Wilson, improved offensive line, Breece Hall in the backfield for sure. Now, when I look at this overall list right here, a lot of people are going to say, all right, Jake, well, a lot of the same names on the top of the list that we kind of expected, right? And that's supposed to be that way. When you compare everybody in all of these metrics, they're supposed to be this way. It's not supposed to be like, oh man, I was totally expecting Justin Fields to be number 3. No, there's a reason these guys are being drafted so early. So who are some of the standouts to me? Kirk Cousins, 100% Kirk Cousins. He finished 7th overall, right there behind the elite of the elite at the quarterback position. And he's a lot cheaper than the guys that are being drafted in front of him. Tua, another guy not getting credit, but that offense and new coaching staff could definitely boost the production of Tua. Derek Carr, love Derek Carr once again, have for years. This is going to be the year that he gains some more respect. But just like every one of these other shows that we do like this, it's fun to kind of compare guys in different situations and just find out where names fall. Some things, are kind of what you expect, and that's okay. That's what we want, because if guys are finishing where we expect them to, and we can find other guys that are in similar areas, all of a sudden, that's where we unlock that potential to find some great value on draft day. And that's the purpose of this type of show, is just trying to find ways to find those hidden gems. Not every single tool, every single show is going to unleash 15 players that need to be drafted. No, sometimes we're just looking for the little breadcrumbs that lead us to the right direction. And shows like this that do that, I believe, don't forget, you got to hit the like button to hit your like goal. We got a lot of giveaways coming up. Pristine Auction has been blowing me up. Look at, can you see over my shoulder? I just got in a signed full-size Nick Chubb helmet and a signed Mike Evans cleat. That thing is sick. Love seeing stuff like that from our friends over at Pristine Auction. And lastly, don't forget, if you're looking for some audio podcasts, you can see it here on the bottom of the screen. If you listen on iTunes, if you listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever it is, you need to check out our podcast. We don't just take our daily videos and dump them on a podcast platform. No, that is all different content. It's unfiltered, unscripted, and a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out. But for now, I'm going to get out of here for the day. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day and a great week. We'll talk to you later.